Hi, I'm John DeSteiger, the president of Oklahoma Christian University. We're thrilled to have a guest on campus unlike any others that we've had. This man is a hero and an icon. Mr. Wheeler Parker Jr. was here last night as a part of Oklahoma Christian's History Speaks program, an outstanding program where we bring in civil rights heroes and icons to talk about their experiences. Mr. Parker is the cousin of Emmett Till. Mr. Parker, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
It's a thrill for us to have you, and you provided such great insight last night. I want to thank you for being a part of the Oklahoma Christian community.
Thank you for inviting me. You have to be progressive to have that kind of thing that come in your place.
Well, we're honored that you're here. I want to ask first, Wheeler, about your growing up years. Where were you born? Where were you raised? Tell me a little bit about your family.
I was born in Slaughter, Mississippi, 1939. Lived there for 7 years, 1947. January, we went to Illinois because of economics, jobs, and moved next door to Emmett Till, a little town called Summit, Argo, Illinois, about a block from Chicago. And that's where I spent my formative years in the school system there.
I see. So you began in Mississippi, moved to Chicago. Now I want to fast forward a little bit to the summer of 1955. I believe that's the summer in August when you and your grandfather and Emmett went to Mississippi. So what was the occasion of you all going to Mississippi?
As you know, if you don't, every year there's a flood of sending kids back to Mississippi in the South period. And this year my grandfather came for a funeral, and I had not been there in 8 years, so they were going to send me back with him to be with my uncles. I had 3 uncles that were still there. My mother's brother, they're all younger than I am. And
Your uncles are younger than you.
They are, yeah.
Oh, got it.
I got 3 of them. So Emmett didn't have siblings, and he was a privileged child, only child. And so his mother would take me with him when he didn't have anyone else. So he had become accustomed to us doing things together. So he heard that I was going to Mississippi. And they didn't want Emmett to go because his fun-loving, free-spirited ways did not fit Mississippi. Never had a dull day. I mean, never had a dull day in his life, full of jokes and pranks. He paid people to pay him jokes. So he wanted to go, but they didn't want him to go because of his fun-loving ways and know he could get in trouble. They knew what could happen. So what they thought could happen did happen.
Oh, my goodness.
But anyway, they reluctantly allowed him to go.
I want you to tell us about the incident. You and Emmett, and I believe maybe another cousin, were at a grocery store. And that's what gave rise to this really, really horrific crime, but also kind of galvanized in some ways the civil rights movement. So tell us about that experience in the grocery store with your cousin Emmett.
And we have to kind of paint the picture of the little town money. The place is so small. I remember not too long ago, I was going to go through there, and I was looking to the left. I said, hey, I just passed through town. Didn't even know it. It's called the railroad tracks on the left. That's how small it was. I mean, maybe 50 people live in the town because it's the Delta. The land is so rich, they said if a peg-leg man stuck it in that soil, his leg would start growing. That's how rich it was. So we got there on a Sunday, cotton picking time. You pick cotton all day. So Monday, pick cotton, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're in a small town in the country. To where the gravel road and the blacktop come together. Then the next one is a dirt road. So we're right in the middle in the deep woods and close to this little hamlet of a town. I had about 2 or 3 stores. So we finished picking cotton in the evening, about dusk, almost dusk. And we went uptown. Of course, people gathered out and playing checkers. And I went into the store to purchase some things. And while I was in there, I remember very vividly that Emmett came in. And I said to myself, I sure hope he doesn't do anything stupid. I'm well entrenched, well aware of what the South is like. I know where I'm at. I know what I got to do. They prepare you when you're going there how to stay alive. Because once you got in trouble, you did something people didn't like, decided to do, you could not call the police because they could be part of it. And the only way you can understand it, you have to live it. You can't, I couldn't tell you, kind of give you a sense of it, but if you lived it. But we didn't have a problem because we followed the rules. Emmett from Chicago. His mother said she trained, but you can't give a crash course in a few hours to go to Mississippi. And okay, he came in, and I left him in the store. And the hurting thing is that for 30 years, they never interviewed us. 30 years, an incident of that nature. So they told the story of what happened in the store. So when I tell my story, even now, I was reading the other day, it's not known what happened. It's not known. That's painful. So we alleged. You know, we didn't. I'm an eyewitness.
Right.
Mark Twain said, "Eyewitness would destroy a good story." So you can't. First impressions are lasting. So I left Emmett in the store. My uncle Simeon, who was 12 at the time, he was 14. I was 16. He went in with Emmett, and they came out of the store, and Emmett, as his nature, and while we were outside the store, nothing happened in the store. Recently, this lady testified or gave information to, I can't think of his name, he just wrote a book, saying that he did nothing worthy of death. And, you know, she recanted, but his life is gone, you know.
Right.
We knew this for 62 years. I had to live with that. And when I went to speak to different places, it's like he got what he deserved. So she helped us out and made me feel better because she at least saying, and I think she's trying to get to heaven, and I hope so.
But back then, what did she say had happened, and then what actually did happen?
She said that in the courtroom with the jury out, she said that Emmett, and you have to understand, if you paint a picture of a grocery store in the South, in the country, there's a counter about 3-4 feet deep. Everything's on the wall. And you have to ask what you want, and they bring it to you. She said that he came and put his arms around her waist. Said, "Don't be afraid of me, baby. I've been with white women before." And that never happened. Then we went out, and then she did come out of the store, and as she came out and went to her left and our right, he gave her a wolf whistle. He wanted to make us laugh, you know. And when he did that, nobody said, "Let's go." We just all made a beeline for the car. We jump in the car, and we're going down this gravel road, and there's a car behind us. We don't know where this car came from. So we said, they're after us, you know. Because we know this guy has violated one of the southern mores. That could get you killed quicker than anything. Reckless eyeball could get you killed, but whistling, that was out of the question. So we sped up, pulled to the side, jumped out, and ran through the cotton field. Car went on by, so we regrouped at the side of the road, and we were talking about Emmett's exes. They just killed my grandfather. And we didn't, but there was a girl, her name was Ruth. She said, "I know those people, this is not over." And we didn't know they had done things to people before. She said, "You're going to hear some more." We only had 3 days, we've been there 3 days. So Wednesday night passed by, Thursday, Friday, we forgot all about it, 12, 14, 16.
So several days passed by. So I want to make sure that I've got this right. So in this grocery store where there was this counter, this woman was behind the counter. She's the person that would have gotten the food for you that you asked for. Emmett was on the other side of the counter, 3-foot wide counter. And so what she said, that he hugged her, grabbed her, and said something to her, could not have happened in that grocery store.
No.
But what did happen, as after he came out and she came out, he wolf whistled at her, and that's what you saw had happened.
Yeah, and you know, even now I say, why did they come to the house? What was it that prompted them? Well,
Right.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right.
But when I heard them when they came to the house,
Okay, and this was at night. You all are in bed several days later.
Sunday morning, 2:30 in the morning, we've been out. We got home about 12 o'clock from Saturday night. And then I hear these guys talking to my grandfather. I said, "We want to talk to you about the fat boy." The fat boy, Emmett was kind of plump. And said about the talk he did at the store. And I said, "Wow." I said, "We're getting ready to die." Because I heard all the stories, how people have been killed. My uncle told us about a couple of guys got hung right down the street from his house, and you knew that he was in harm's way, and he violated the southern mores. So I said, "We're getting ready to die. These people are going to kill us." I come from a very strictly religious family, and when you've been taught, that's why you should teach your children how to get in touch with God. I didn't need a preacher, I didn't need a missionary. 16 years, I went straight to God. I said, "God, if you just let me know," death was imminent. And when death is imminent, it's some kind of way look like by nature, you start thinking of all the bad things you've done and you need to get your peace ready with God. And I started working on that. So if you let me live, I'll do right, you know. I'm making all these promises and shaking like a leaf on a tree. And in the country, and I guess this is kind of country, when the moon doesn't shine, well, you got street lights. In the country, when the moon doesn't shine, you can't see your hand before your face. And a lot of people can't comprehend. What do you mean you can't see your hand? It's right there. Why can't you see it? You got to have light.
Right.
You got to reflect back. And that's what it was like. It was dark as the hours of midnights. And I could hear these guys coming my way. My grandfather didn't know what room we were in. It was a large 4-bedroom house. It was a former landowner's home. So it wasn't a shack. They always want to make it like a shack, screen and porch and the whole works. So they're coming my way and I'm shaking. I'm literally shaking. And they walk with a pistol in one hand and a flashlight in another. So I'm talking to God, begging God, don't let these people kill me. And they look like they're gonna kill me anyway. So I closed my eyes, waiting to be shot, and they didn't shoot me. I saw them open my eyes and they went by and they found Emmett in the third room. Of course, they roused him up and my uncle Simeon, who was 12 years old, in the bed with him, told him to lay back down and go to sleep. And I think Emmett wanted to put on his socks or something before he put his shoes on. And it was pure hell over there. I mean, they were very upset because he didn't have that yes sir, no sir mentality like Southern boys are trained to have. And they left with him. My grandmother offered them money and they wouldn't take that. And that was the last time we saw him alive. We had been there, by this time we'd been there about a week. Yeah. This was the incident happened on Wednesday. This is Sunday. The husband was out of town. And I don't know today. That's why I would like to have some closure. I'm not interested in her going to jail. It's only 87 years old, you know. But I would like some closure. To me would be if I knew what happened, how it happened, what was said, you know, and try to make some sense of how we got from here to death, you know. Try to make sense of it. I mean, these religious people and the Bible Belt, I mean, what they're teaching at church, and where your conscience, you know, where your godliness, you know. So I try to make sense of that. Even today, it still doesn't make sense. I try to figure out this. I come to a blank wall every time.
I want to move a couple of days forward. So Emmett was terribly beaten and killed. He was lynched. His body was recovered, and it was sent to Chicago. And his mom, if I understand, he was beaten so horribly that it was just such a terrible, terrible sight. And yet she made a decision about his funeral to have an open casket. Can you talk about that?
I think she was so bent out of shape, and she just lost it. She said, "Just I don't care. Just let the world see what I see." That's the way she took it, and she just, I'm gonna bear it all, you know. I mean, what do I have to lose? Her only son and only child. She was the only child. And that's the attitude she took, and she was just beyond repair for her at that time. At the same time, being in a Christian family, you can get upset, but you're gonna come back to your training, and eventually we say all things work together for good, and it brought the good out of her. She went back to school, became a teacher, and did a lot of good things because she lost her son, and she took on children everywhere, mentoring and teaching them. She lost one, but she gained a lot, helped a lot of people.
Emmett's death, such a terrible, terrible thing, galvanized in some ways elements of the civil rights movement. And I think you've actually mentioned that Rosa Parks had Emmett in mind when she was arrested on the bus.
Yeah. Emmett was not the first person that was killed on this nature. Rosa Parks was not the first lady that wouldn't get up. It's something like an idea whose time has come, and it went all over. Usually those things didn't make the paper, you know. This went all over the world. It's just like a godsend to help to bring about a change. awful price to pay because he suffered tremendously. He suffered tremendously. I mean, we just really learning about the forensics, how many bones were broken in his arm and his body and his jawbone severed. You know, it just like he was dropped on his head. You know, and it just shot in the head, and we just saw the picture. You know, the grotesque picture, but then we got the forensics, and it's just awful. The things that he suffered, and you look at what good came out of it. Then you look at the price he paid, so you have mixed emotions, you know. And that's what we kind of deal with it. But it changed her life. It changed our lives because you can never forget it. You can never forget an incident like that.
Wheeler, fast forward now to 2018. There has been some progress over the years. There have been setbacks over the years. Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic about the future of race relations in our country?
Well, I tell them on my tours, I do a lot of speaking, I said the wheels of justice grind, but they grind slow. We've made a lot of progress. Laws make you behave better. They don't legislate the heart. So sometimes when people have that racism or hatred, whatever's in them, they're going to find a way to use it or to let you know sometimes it's subtle. But we made progress. Hey, I know we made progress. When I go to Mississippi, I'm in a different Mississippi. Y'all come back again here, you know. That in time past, it was different.
Wow.
So there has been change, and changes are being made. And they have to be made by people in power. And that's why I tell the white students, I say, when you're in power, have the authority to do what's right. They say, well, I'm going to do what's right. I said, you won't be like now. Well, because the worst thing could happen to a white person is to be called a nigger lover or trying to help black folk. Obama had a lot of times. People couldn't speak up for him like they wanted to because they didn't want to be tagged with that. And when you see this skin, you got a preconceived idea.
God bless you, Wheeler. Thank you for sharing this. Any insight or advice or piece of wisdom that you would give a student today as they're making this life journey and as they're living with people in community that are different than them?
You got to go forward, and you can't hate. That's what I always start off, and everywhere I go. You can't afford to hate. Hate destroys the hater. When you hate, you're being controlled by people. Let nobody control you. That's with race or whatever. Because most of your problems are going to be in your own family. The Bible says your fools are going to be them in your own household. If you can get through their own household with the right attitude, have a conscious void of offense toward God and toward man, you got to love people. In spite of you can't do that on your own. So I tell them you got to pray and ask God to help you. You don't have to hate. I know God delivered me from a lot of that craziness. You don't have, so you can go forward and enjoy life. You don't come here but once, and you're not going to get out alive.
Very good. Mr. Wheeler Parker Jr., hero, cousin of Emmett Till. Hate destroys the hater. Love God and love other people. God bless you, Wheeler. Thanks for being a part of our campus.
My pleasure.